Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Kate Richburg live from beadshopdotcom. We made it through another week. It's Free Tip Friday. So here I am coming at you live from our beadshopdotcom offices here in Redwood City, California. That's where we are. I'm in front of the camera, and holding the camera today is our illustrious Janice Parsons. Hey, Janice.
Hey, Katie.
Hey, everybody. All right, so is anybody jumping on, JP?
Yes,
Hooray.
yes. We have Art Del Nero has just joined us.
Art and Tammy are very accomplished, wonderful metalsmiths and beaders as well. So it's the couple that beads together, stays together. So
and Melanie is here, and
Hello,
Sharon.
Melanie. Hello.
Gita.
Hello, our Gita.
Robin.
Yes.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, everybody.
Art saying hi, Kate and Janice.
Hi, everyone. Well, you guys, we have...
Tammy's with us.
Oh, Tammy. Hi, Tammy.
Yeah, Darla.
Darla.
Yeah.
It's everybody. We're all
Deborah.
ready for Friday.
Robin.
So, Robin. Okay. Okay, Janice.
One more, Patrice.
Patrice.
And Trish.
And Trish, as my mom says, you know, my mom, I'll tell you a little story while people are jumping on. My mom and dad.
Your mom just jumped on.
Oh, hi, Mama. My mom and dad, they have these great dogs. My dad, for a time, trained guide dogs for the blind, and they were, you know, really great, beautiful golden retrievers and Labradors and stuff. And so the command, you never say when you're raising a guide dog, you never say no. You say, that's enough. So when I know my mom means it when she says to their dog, she goes, that's enough, Malone. So that's what I'm saying. So that's enough, Janice. So you never say no. You just say that's enough in a commanding voice. Anyway, well, good morning, everyone, or afternoon or evening, wherever you are. So Free Tip Friday, you guys. I thought I would jump ahead to next week's Facebook Live and go back to last week's Facebook Live, and I have a couple of cool things to share with you. So shall we get started, JP?
Yep.
Let's do it. And you guys, next week's Facebook Live is going to be super amazing. We've got some fun stuff, and it'll be our Janice's last Facebook Live with us for a while, but we've got some fun stuff.
It's really
Headed
great.
your way. It's going to be
Okay,
great.
so I'm going to move.
You're going to move over. I'm going to come. I'm walking by our window.
Okay.
And hitting the blinds.
Okay.
There we go. And let's take a look at what we've got on here. So let's go back. Can you sit in the chair and let's
Yep, I
get
can.
everything nice, and so you're comfortable, I'm comfortable, you guys are comfortable out there.
Yep.
So last week, you remember our first epic bead crochet with Emily, and I hope you guys had a great time. We had fun, didn't we, Janice?
We did.
Yeah, we learned a lot. I think we both learned a lot about crochet. And I looked through the comments, and you guys had such great comments. And one of the comments was, well, Kate, can you crochet with leather? And the answer is, you sure can. Of course, if you had a large enough crochet hook, you could. But this is something that I've been doing with leather that I thought, you know what, I'm going to show you how I just make a little hand chain with the leather. So JP, I'll let you get in here. And you guys remember how Emily did this with the crochet. You make that first slip knot. And you're wondering, Kate, what is it that you're using? Well, this is just a piece of 2mm distressed denim. Maybe this is a 1.5 millimeter. I'm sorry.
Could I stop for a second?
Yeah.
We're getting Gita's now. Deborah's saying, video won't play. Are we having some problems out there?
Out there in video land?
Yeah. Donna's saying the same. Same. What seems to? Can anyone tell us what the problem is?
We'll
Video
pause.
is fine for Lorraine. Playing
So,
fine for me.
If
Maybe
you
it's,
guys are having any troubles, as what I would suggest you guys doing
Whitney refreshed.
is, refresh and log out of Facebook, log back in, and then you should be up and running fine.
Okay.
Sometimes,
Melanie's now okay.
Okay, great.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone.
So I'm going to jump back and say this is the 1.5 distressed denim leather. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to make that slip knot. You can see I've made that loop, and I'm just going to pass the cord through the loop like that. Okay? Just like we began with Emily's crochet. Now, this is something I used to do when I was a little girl. I used to make chains out of everything, and I love the way it looks for a quick, simple leather bracelet. I just take this piece of leather, I pass it through that loop, and I'll try and make sure, Janice, that you can see. But see how I pull that loop and how it pulls that chain closed. I'm going to keep going, and you just kind of follow along with what I'm doing. See how I have that open loop there? I pull through the loop, pull a chain. Then I can pull that down a little bit, pull through the loop, pull a chain through. I'm going to do this kind of quickly to just make a few, and then we're going to take a look and see what I've made.
So you're not pulling the leather all the way through.
No, it just pulls so it tightens down. So see here, it's there. I pull through the loop, and watch how that chain stitch tightens. And then if this loop is real big, I'll just make it a little smaller again, and I'll keep going. Now, can you guys see, Janice, you can kind of see here, see that chain stitch? It looks exactly like Emily's crochet stitch. Right? Now I could, if I wanted to add a bead, I have an end here, so I could add a big hold bead if I wanted every stitch or whatever, but it's kind of a fun way to create.
It's still, Gita and
a crochet
Lean
chain
are saying it's still not working here. I wonder. Sorry guys.
Keep trying to refresh, because I think we're okay on our end. We're not seeing any connectivity issues. So if you
Kate, would you move the stitch in the background just away?
Yeah.
So, and then that extra cord so that all we're seeing is what you're doing. There you go. Thank you.
And then I just go through, and I can just continue this, pulling down. Okay, but it's super quick, super easy. And then once you get your whole little chain done, just like, and I'll just cut this off here, I'll just cut the end, and just how we did with our bead crochet, we just pull that loop through for a final, and it's done and done. And you can stack these up on your wrist, right, and it looks kind of like that. You could, there's plenty of room there. You could treat this as a little chain and dangle things off of it. You could use a crimp, like our leaf crimp, if you wanted to put something on the end. But this is where your imagination comes into play, you guys. I'm not going to crimp that in, but I can cut that a little bit more at an angle and get that leather in there, right? And then I could crimp that closed. Or I could tie off, tie a button on, silk wrap a button, macrame a button. So it's just another little stitch in your arsenal. Kind of fun. But it's kind of a little throwback to what Emily did with crocheting and an answer for that crocheting on leather. So you don't even need a hook.
Debbie's saying she used to make those with string when she was in the 4th grade.
Yeah. So
Can you use this method instead for bead crochet instead of the needle?
It may be a little, with the thread size that Emily was using, the micro Ceylon, I think it's a little too thin, that thread. You won't get, that small thread is all about the tension, so you need that hook to pull things through and keep things tight. But with this leather cord, since it's so heavy, tension is almost automatic. There's hardly any issue with that. Some of you may remember when flour sacks came with a little thing that bent over the top and it was stitched in there, right, with an extra piece of string. Well, my gran always used to save those. She used to open up the flour bag and she used to, put it aside carefully because, she was a product of the Depression, so nothing went to waste. So I would grab that little piece and I would practice. I'd make those little chains. So you could do this little method with anything, and sometimes it's just kind of a fun way to keep your hands busy.
Whitney's asking if you could use it with regular Ceylon.
I don't know. Try it. I'd like to know if you guys do kind of try this hand method, what your results are. I'm used to doing it with flour sack string, so I'm sure you could do it. All right, so JP, let's take a look to what we're going to be doing, our Facebook Live next week, and I'm going to give you guys a little extra bonus here project. Now, on the blog this morning, our beadshopdotcom blog, the bead table, I made a list of our ingredients that I'm using here, but I just want to show you kind of the ingredients that I'm using so you can kind of follow along. Okay?
And excuse me, Kate,
Sure.
for those of you who are still having problems with connectivity, best thing to do is come back and watch this later
on the replay.
on YouTube, on the replay. We're really sorry that today we're having so many problems.
Yeah, and sometimes, it's a Facebook connectivity issue as well, so hopefully our recording will be nice and clean and you guys can see it after the fact. So thanks you guys for hanging in there with us on this Free Tip Friday. So for this earring, next week's Facebook Live is going to be all about working with memory wire in an unconventional way for earrings. So I thought I'd share this little way that I'm using memory wire with you as kind of a little whet your appetite kind of a thing. So with this earring, what I've got is I've got some ring memory wire. I've got a set of ear wires. These are the copper niobium ear wires. Got a little scant piece of our circle back chain. I've got some 4mm turquoise moon dust, 4mm check fire polish beads. I've got some 5mm antique copper jump rings, some 11/0 antique copper metal seed beads, and these 2mm pastel petrol little 2mm check true twos. I also have some head pins, which seem to have fallen by the wayside, so we'll grab some of those in a second because we don't need those quite yet, and I'll show you with these guys. So what I've got here is the main thing we're using is this 24 gauge antique copper wire, and can you see this coil? And those of you who know my jewelry taste, you know I love kind of a statement earring. So next week's Facebook Live is going to be all about those statement earrings. But this coil, I also use this coil a lot in my design work, and it's really, really easy to make. And I want you to be able to use this not only in kind of an earring project like this, but also it's kind of cool to use in other wire projects that you might have. So what I've done here, and hey Louise, I'm going to ask you real quick, would you mind getting me a 1.5mm the antique copper head pin?
Sure.
Off the wall? Thank you. Mine seems to have vanished into the ether. So I'm going to get this 24 gauge copper wire, and
What does the X mean?
oh, the X means pardon me, Janice, the X means that we X these out so we know that they've been used. So
Okay.
we don't send them on to you. Your paper sheet is 8.5 by 11, so I just use kind of my 8.5 maybe once and maybe twice. That's kind of a quick measurement for me. You don't need a lot, and you also know, if you've seen me work, I'm not a huge measurer. So I'm going to have my 18 gauge, and this is just 18 gauge that we had in the scrap. This is some brushed silver non-tarnish wire, but I just pulled it off, really straightened it, because that's really important to get this nice and straight, and then cut off a length. And I know you're asking me, Kate, well, how much did you cut? It's about 5 inches. Okay. Now this 18 gauge wire is going to be my mandrel, the mandrel that I wrap this 24 gauge wire around. So this is where my nylon jawed plier comes in handy. And if you watched our, I'm going to anchor it first. If you watched our big episode on earrings, Facebook Live back I don't know, a few months ago, maybe towards the beginning of the year, you saw me do this with some earring design. But see how I lay the two of those wires next to the other, and how the 24 gauge wire is coming at a right angle, the 18 gauge wire is coming out on the horizon line. I've wrapped just a couple of little wraps. Now I'm going to clamp it. And I'm using that nylon jaw plier to clamp, you guys, because it won't mark my wire. Okay? And I'm just going to wrap. And can you see how, and I know what you're thinking.
We can't see how. There, now we
there,
can
you
see
can
how.
You? I know what you're thinking. What are they thinking, Janice? I'm making it look easy.
Yes, you're making it look easy.
That's right.
I thought of that, and then I thought, oh no, that's not what they're thinking.
That's right.
That's too easy.
Right, too easy. See how after I get a little bit of a wrap there, I just bring it under the nylon jaw pliers. If I've got a little bit of an opening there, I'll push it back down. But you know, you guys, I've been wire wrapping for 25 years. Wire and I are very, very good friends. So I do make it look easy, but with a little bit of practice. And you know, this wire isn't very expensive, you know, you can just kind of practice with it. I'm not wrapping super tightly because I do want to be able to slide this, because I'm just using this wire as a mandrel, remember. So I do want to be able to slide this off a little bit later. So I periodically check to make sure I'm not wrapping too tightly. Now, to get around this loop of the ring memory wire, it's about 1 inch and 1 inch of coil. So let me get my little
So you're talking about 1 inch and 1 inch on either side of the beads at the bottom.
Yeah, so it's about, so I would wrap about a 2-inch coil. So I'm going to do that. Here I'm a little short, so I'm going to keep wrapping. And see how I've just turned this around now so I have the long wire? I'll just turn it the opposite way. And I'm going to keep wrapping. And again, the tension not too tight. Can you see that okay, Janice? As I wrap and wind. Okay. Just like so. Let's see what we've got. So this is a little more than 1 inch, but what I'm going to do is I'll do a few more and then we'll elongate it a little bit with beads. You can always, you know, this part here, you can see where the earring is. You can add or take away beads so you have more or less coiling. You know, the design world is your oyster, you guys. You do what works for you. And this is what works for me. So I'm going to pull this coil off and see really gently, because I don't want the coil to get messed up in any way. But you can see it's pretty sturdy there, that 24 gauge. Now I'm going to get my flush wire cutter, and I'm going to come in with the flush side of this cutter.
Could we just stop for 1 second? Louise, would you mind closing the drapes, because every time Kate lifts her arm up, the sunlight flashes.
Oh.
And
right
can
there.
you just turn them so that they're more closed? Let's see.
Look at that.
Yeah,
Bam,
I think
is that
that's
better?
I hope that helps for everybody.
So I'm going to come in. Thank you. I'm going to come in and just clip that little edge away. And if you can get right in there, JP, you can see that there's no little burr. It's just the little coil that ends there. All right? And I'll come in and I'll clip the other side. All right. So now I'm just going to come in and cut this guy, this little coil. I'm actually going to use my tape measure. It's a little bit easier. Why not? So I've got just a scant bit over 1 inch here. For this one, as I said, I used 1 inch per side, but I also have a bunch of extra beads. So let's say that you like the look of coiling, but you didn't want to coil forever. So I'm going to go right here, and I'm just going to cut this coil in half. Bam. No big deal. Now, I'm going to get a loop of my ring memory wire, and I'm going to get about, I don't know, about 1 1/3 maybe. Now, you guys, what cutter do we use? Do I use these Xuron cutters? These flush
Beep.
cutters? No. Janice, what do I use?
You use your memory wire,
That's
Xuron
right.
memory wire cutters.
Because if I don't, see how tough this wire is? If I don't use this cutter and I use my precious flush cutters for this, I'm going to get a little dent right in the tip of these flush cutters. So if you have an old pair of, wire cutters you don't particularly care about, or if you really want to invest in a tool that's going to be a lifetime tool for you, this Xuron memory wire cutter is the way to go. Okay? So now, it's kind of hard to see, so I'll turn this to the back so you guys can see it. I start with a little loop on the end of my memory wire. So I'm going to get one of these ends. I'm going to grab it with my round nose plier, and I'm going to make a loop of a pleasing size. Not too big, not too small. And see, I just kind of dip it past the wire and ease up so that loop is completely closed. So can you see how we've got that there? We've got our loop. You can see that loop is leaning over a little bit, so let's just tell that loop to stand up straight. Okay. Now, I think what I'm going to do, since I have coils that are a little shorter, I'm just going to make this up as I go along, because that's what I do. That's where I feel creativity lies a lot of times, you guys, especially when you're just kind of
What are you stringing
playing
on now?
around. I'm going to show you right here as soon as I get a couple on. But that's where you just kind of come in and be creative. I'm stringing on those little 2mm pastel petrels, a couple of little 11-aught.
You mean the 4mm?
No, that little
Oh.
2mm pastel petrol, a couple of those little 11-aughts. Now I'll put on a 4mm turquoise moon dust. That looks like it's going to give me the right amount here. Now remember, you guys, you're in charge of this wire. You don't take any lip from it. We're going to just gently push that coil on now. Look at what we've got there. Bam! Look at that. And then I know for my center, I'm just about there. So maybe one more turquoise moon dust. Slide this sucker on. I said slide that sucker on. There you go. So I'm about halfway. I can see. I'm about halfway. That might be a little bit big even. So let's go with the 2mm. And put this guy on. Okay. Then I check to make sure that this line, this looks like it's about in the middle. Okay. So let me grab my head pins, and you can make a little dangle if you want. Dangles are always optional, but I always think that a dangle is kind of a fun thing. Now I'm not going to wire wrap too slowly, you guys. We have a million resources for you to take a look at different wire wrapping. We've got a skill builder on beadshopdotcom under, we've got a nice skill builder handout there under skill builders. I've done it several times on different Facebook lives. So I'm going to just kind of, in the essence of time or in consideration of time, I'm just going to kind of fly through this part. But what I am going to mention is if you do decide to dangle from chain, you need to add that chain before you wire wrap, you guys, because there's no attaching chain once this loop is closed unless you use a jump ring. So I'm just going to come in.
That was the #1 mistake when people came in the shop to make jewelry and the chain and beaded designs were so popular. They'd go, oh no,
How do I connect? I know.
I made the dangles, but I forgot to add the chain.
That's right. You know what? I still do that.
Yeah,
Do you still do that?
Sometimes.
Yeah. It's just sometimes that's how it goes. You just get so excited, or at least I do, about wire wrapping that I just forget to add the dangle. I'm just going to leave just like, I don't know, 2 little links. You don't need much chain for this to have movement. So I'm going to cut that away. You're going to learn a lot more about cutting chain and all kinds of cool stuff on our Facebook Live that's coming up on Wednesday. But, so see there, I've just got my little dingly dangle. And now I just do the whole thing in reverse, Janice.
Everybody's
so
liking
easy.
this. Heart, heart, heart,
Oh,
heart.
thanks. I feel like it also has kind of like a, I don't know, an opulent kind of feel to it.
Oh, lots of hearts.
Oh, thanks,
you, everybody.
You guys. We love that. If your coil is a little unruly or if it's sticking out just a hair, you just push that coil in. You're the boss of your wire, you guys. You're in charge.
Oh my goodness.
What happened?
It's a screen full of hearts.
Oh, that makes me so happy. What
Yeah.
a good way to start my weekend. So see
And a
here?
thumbs up.
Yay.
And lots of thumbs up.
So here we've got, see how we've got that coil and that coil, they're pretty equal. And now I'll just repeat this bead pattern here.
I can't watch you, Kate. I'm looking
What?
at all the hearts
hearts?
and happy faces.
Oh,
Got to get back to work. I've got to hold the camera.
that's right.
Can't
But it is nice, isn't it?
It
that we have
is.
so many people who like what we're putting out there.
Yeah.
It really makes it all worthwhile, you guys. Thank you so much. My fingers are a little clumsy today, getting this 11-aught on there. There we go.
But they really make a difference, just having that little tiny bead.
Yeah.
It's just,
It's like a little comma in your design as it's going along, you know? And I always say, I said it during our Facebook Live episode on Softflex, I'm saying it again now, a little tiny beads, or what sometimes I call them spacer beads or whatever, I think sometimes those get overlooked. Lindy, I think one of our customers, Lindy, had emailed me a photo of a palette that she was making, and we talked a little bit about the importance of spacer beads and stuff in it, and I really think it's important to have just some various sizes so your eye has some interest when it looks at your piece. So you can see how that's just come together pretty well right there, if I do say so myself. I'm going to come in, and I want the loop that I make here to match the loop that I make here. I'm going to guess I'm going to need about that much wire.
so Kate, if you were new at bending wire back, if you made a little notation on the white paper
I could.
of how long it was, you could
That's
go back
exactly
now
right, Janice.
and
That's
then
a really good
have
thought.
a measure. Like,
Right, so I could go here and I could measure and I'd go, okay, that's the length that I need to make my loop, you know, about
Right.
that size. That's a really good point.
templates.
Template. So this side can give you a little bit of sass, but let me hold it all together and then I'll show you what I've got going on here. You want to make sure, see that there's no bead space or no space on the wire over there. I want it to be nice and tight. This loop, well, I'm going to go for it. If it's a little too long, I'll show you how I shorten it. Up and over, you guys. Up and over. And walk. This wire's a little stiff because it's memory wire. It's been hardened so it stays in that shape. But give it a little bit of muscle, a little bit of elbow grease, and you'll be all right. Go slightly past the wire so everything stays closed. Whew, and there we are. And it looks like they're about the same size.
Yeah.
Now they're a little wonky, so get your chain nose pliers. Bring them together. Okay? You can also kind of stretch it out a little bit and stretch it back, because memory wire does have a little bit of a memory since it's memory wire, but you can kind of bend it to your will. And what I'm doing here is I'm bending it to my will so that these two loops line up.
I do that with my knees.
Bend your knees to your will?
Yes.
I like the sound of that. Now if I wanted to add a little more, let's say I wanted to add a dangle or something like this had.
Is your chain at the bottom going over the two beads? Is it out of?
Yeah, it should. These beads might have been a little bit big for it, or a little small for it.
Oh, because you changed the design.
But you know what I do, JP?
Just
I wouldn't fret. I'm just going to
well,
go.
you're the master.
I'm going to say, hey, chain, You do what I
Look
tell
at
you
what
to
you
do.
just did.
And that chain's going
Wow.
to stay there.
Wow.
Because who's the boss of the chain?
You are.
That's right. And you guys are. So if I wanted to add a little dangle here, what I would do, I'd just have a little scant scrap of chain right here. This is a pretty good looking earring, if I do say so myself.
It's great.
I would scoop my wire up, or my chain up rather, and then I'd scoop my earring up. And I actually want to be using my bent chain, not my round nose. I'll close that up. Now this is the thing, you guys. See how my jump ring isn't facing the right way?
Well, it's not facing the right way for the
the ear wire. Thank you. Yeah, for the ear wire. See that? So I'm going to add one more jump ring so that when I wear my earrings, see, I scoop that sucker up, slide on that ear wire, then I'll close it. Then everything will be facing front. And now later, what I can do is I can come back in and wire wrap a couple of little dangles onto that chain, or not.
It looks good even just like that.
Mm-hmm. So let's kind of compare and contrast what we've got here, just so you have a couple of little design ideas. One has a shorter coil, a 1-inch coil, and this is the 2-inch coil. So there's more coil than on one than the other. And you could reverse this out. I could have put all of those beads down there, you know, and had the beads at the bottom and the coils on the top. But, you know, whatever. It's just a really, you know, you do you guys. You figure out, you know, how to adapt the design to make it work for you. But if you go to our blog, the Bead Table, the beadshopdotcom blog, you'll see I've listed every one of these ingredients, and they're hyperlinked, so you can go right over to the site and see them. So we also have, Janice, you know what weekend it is here in the States.
I know, Memorial Day.
It's Memorial Day weekend, you
I
guys.
know.
So we are actually taking advantage of a nice 3-day holiday weekend. We're going to be taking a little rest on Monday and not be here on Monday. And I also wanted to mention, I'm going to tell you in just a second, if you haven't gotten your emails yet, or your newsletter, I suggest you look at them, because we have a huge store-wide sale that starts today. And when we have these big store-wide sales, you guys, you know, we're just a small company, so we really do our best to try and get our packages out as quickly as we can. But sometimes when we have sales, it's a little bit longer of a lead time. But don't worry and rest assured, we are doing everything we can to get those sale packages right out to you. So Janice, we've got a coupon code that's good until Monday. And dare I even put it out?
You better.
I better.
Yeah.
So I'm going to write it right here. If you guys have not opened your newsletter, I'm going to write this here.
And you're writing it in pencil, right?
I am. You're going to see it. 5/29. Okay. So our coupon.
Isn't Monday the 30th?
No, because the 31st is Wednesday.
Okay.
Right? Tuesday's the 30th. Monday's the 29th.
Okay.
Right?
I guess.
Yeah.
Is that right, guys?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our coupon code is long30, you guys. And if you go into, when you place your order, there's a little discount code box. You put in long30, LONG30, and you save 30%.
I know. Crazy.
I know. Janice she gave me the side eye when.
No, I want
everyone.
I want everyone to know I love that.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a big discount.
Yeah, and it's our Memorial Day. It's our
It
kickoff
is.
to summer. So this is the time, you guys. If you
Can
have.
you just erase that one that's
Oh,
next?
sorry. Yeah.
There. So it's long 30.
Long 30. Expires Monday night at midnight, 5:29, 5:29 Pacific time. So it's a great time to stock up on your summer project stuff, all that kind of great stuff. So
Yeah.
if you haven't signed up for our newsletter at beadshop.com, we urge you to do so. It's right on the front page of our website, because we really do communicate a lot of really great offers and giveaways and stuff. We do that here as well on our videos, but you'll be the first in the know with our newsletters. All right. Well, JP, I think that wraps up Free Tip Friday
I think
for
so.
today.
I think so. Yeah.
I hope you guys had fun. You can check it out, as I say, on the blog, the bead table from beadshopdotcom, and this will also be posted on our YouTube channel, beadshopdotcom, for those of you who couldn't watch due to a few technical difficulties. So have a great, safe, happy holiday weekend, and we'll see you guys next week on Facebook Live.